Good morning. Welcome to Sunday School at Cedar Lane United Methodist Church. Sometimes when preparing a lesson like the one for today from Isaiah 53, 1 through 7, I struggle. The struggle was not about the content. That's not the issue. The problem is, how do you present it? I found what could be very helpful information if you ever want to do a study of Isaiah on a site called Via Emmaus, and it's published by David S. Schrock. I want to share the first part of his article. This is just the first part. We're not reading the whole thing. The title of it is The Literary Structure of Isaiah. 5 tour guides to help you stay the course. He published that on January 13th of 2020. Here's the first part of it. The book of Isaiah is 66 books, just like the Bible. And it is divided into 39 chapters and 27 chapters, just like the two testaments, Old and New. Therefore, we should organize Isaiah around this bipartite division, right? Well, maybe not. Similarities in things don't always mean you have to do them the way the scripture is. He goes on to provide the 5 guides to Isaiah written by different scholars. It's 5 different ways of approaching the same scripture. Here's my point. We should not get complacent about what we think we know about any scripture, especially when it comes to prophecy. Yes, it may mean exactly what we think it means. However, we always need to ask, are there any other possible interpretations or any other insights that God might reveal to us? Prophecy generally has a meaning for the people to whom it was written. So when you think about it, you can go back in history and say, okay, to who was this written? And what could it mean to them? But it also points to something that will occur in the future. What little it's worth, I think today's scripture is pointing to the Jewish Messiah, the one who will bring hope and comfort out of his suffering. I have that opinion because several of the verses from today's lesson are quoted or referred to by the authors of the New Testament. Before we go there, let's read the scriptures for this lesson. And I am including Isaiah 52, starting at verse 13 through 15, and including the 7 verses in 53. And I'm doing that because that's where this prophecy of the suffering servant begins. And I'm reading from the Common English Bible. Okay. There you go. Thank you. Look, my servant will succeed. He will be exalted and lifted very high. Just as many were appalled by you, he too appeared disfigured, inhuman, his appearance unlike that of mortals. But he will astonish many nations. Kings will be silenced because of him, because they will see what they haven't seen before, what they haven't heard before, they will ponder. Who can believe what we have heard? And for whose sake has the Lord's arm been revealed? He grew up like a young plant before us, like a root from dry ground. He possessed no splendor, no splendid form for us to see, no desirable appearance. He was despised and avoided by others, a man who suffered, who knew sickness well. Like someone from whom people hid their faces, he was despised. And we didn't think about him. It was certainly for our sickness that he carried and our sufferings that he bore. But we thought him afflicted, struck down by God and tormented. He was pierced because of our rebellions and crushed because of our crimes. He bore the punishment that made us whole. By his wounds we are healed. Like sheep, we had all wandered away, each going its own way. The Lord let fall on him all of our crimes. He was oppressed and tormented, but he didn't open his mouth. Like a lamb being brought to the slaughter, like a ewe silent before her shearers, he didn't open his mouth. I'm going to stop the share for just a second, but we're going to roll through some things. So those of you watching, you're going to not see much of me today. You're going to see a lot of scripture. Today, I'm actually going to let scripture interpret scripture. It's a different way of looking at things, I know, but it's very helpful. That's why I asked you before class if you could see the screen, because we're going to look at each one of these passages. Our first one comes from John. Go back to this. It's in John 12:37 through 40. Jesus had done many miraculous signs before the people, but they didn't believe him. This was to fulfill the word of the prophet Isaiah. Lord, who has believed our message? To whom is the arm, Lord, fully revealed? And Isaiah explains why they couldn't believe. He made their eyes blind and closed their minds so that they might not see with their eyes, understand with their minds, and turn their lives around, and I would heal them. Verse 40, he made their eyes blind, is part of the vision that Isaiah had in Isaiah 6:10. It's part of his call when he had the vision of the temple. God asked him to send just that message to them. And that was our first lesson in September. Matthew, in his gospel, references the healing of the sick as a fulfillment of Isaiah 53:4. Jesus went home with Peter and saw Peter's mother-in-law lying in bed with a fever. He touched her hand and the fever left her. Then she got up and served them. That evening, people brought to Jesus many who were demon-possessed. He threw out the spirits He threw the spirits out with just a word. He healed everyone who was sick. This happened so that what Isaiah the prophet said would be fulfilled. He is the one who took our illnesses and carried away our diseases. Philip was told to go down towards the desert, which he was going from Jerusalem to Gaza. And there he encountered an Ethiopian eunuch who was in charge of the treasury of Candace, the Ethiopian queen. And when he got up to the chariot, he heard him reading from Isaiah 53. This was the passage of scripture he was reading. Like a sheep, he was led to the slaughter, and like a lamb before its shearer is silent, so he didn't open his mouth. Isaiah 53:7. So with that passage, Philip explained the gospel to the eunuch. Paul also quoted Isaiah 53:1. But everyone hasn't obeyed the good news. Isaiah says, Lord, who has had faith in our message? And that's Isaiah 53:1. The fifth reference actually comes from 1 Peter, 2nd chapter, verses 24 through 25. He committed no sin, nor did he ever speak in ways meant to deceive. When he was insulted, he did not reply with insults. When he suffered, he did not threaten revenge. Instead, he entrusted himself to the one who judges justly. He carried in his own body on the cross the sins we committed. He did this so that we might live in righteousness, having nothing to do with sin. By his wounds you were healed. Though you were like straying sheep, you have now returned to the shepherd and guardian of your lives. It's clear from these verses that the early church taught that Jesus was the Messiah promised to the Jews. These five authors of the New Testament, Matthew, John, Luke, Paul, and Peter, used those verses to confirm Jesus' role as God's substitutionary sacrifice for our sin. Jesus is the one God sent. He is the one who took our illnesses and carried away our diseases. At one point, I was really struggling with how to present this, and Richard sent me a summary of Isaiah that offered some modern applications in understanding these verses. And I think it was AI generated, but that's okay, because it had a really good point, and I'm not going to read the whole thing. I'm just reading the fifth point out of all of this. And the fifth point concerns confronting our own complicity. The text uses the communal language of we to include the reader in the story, saying all we like sheep have gone astray, and that the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. The modern application is this. This draws the modern readers into a communal confession, forcing us to recognize our own contribution to the world's brokenness. It reminds us that no one is outside the need for redemption. In conclusion, a lesson for modern readers of Isaiah 53 is to read it not simply as an ancient text, but as a profound commentary on the universal experience of suffering and the surprising nature of true redemption. By engaging with its historical context and the rich theological debate it inspires, we can find a deeply relevant message about compassion, humility, and the purpose hidden within suffering. God surprised the Jews, and I'm sure the Gentiles even more than that, by bringing the redemption of all mankind through one man's suffering. How God is able to work everything for the good of those who love him always astounds me. Even the hard times. God provided a way for everyone to come to him. Jesus voluntarily took on himself my sin, your sin, indeed the sin of the whole world. He paid the price for our freedom through his suffering and death. He did that so we could live our lives walking in our Father's presence. Thank you all for being with us today. We hope to see you next week.